Hotel Quebec, we have an unknown situation. Coordinates, Golf, Sierra, Hotel, Oscar, Charlie, Kilo. So hopefully guys you enjoyed that bit of nonsense, and we are on a Casio kick today. So here is my collection of Casios, or at least some of them. You've got my Duro on the left, my AE1200, the Mystery G-Shock, you've got the AE1300, you've got the F91W, and of course the Data Collection watch. And you have this ugly ass G-Shock that I've actually given to a friend of mine. One of the ugliest watches I've ever seen, but he absolutely loves those kind of things. So let's get on with the unboxing. This is actually a watch that came to me by way of Blake Jackson, my subscriber. Very nice, he sent me in a couple of watches and I have yet to review some of them. The Casio that I've got here, the G-Shock, all come in these black tins that give you a little bit about the specs with the red writing on them. Very, very nice. It is actually an aluminium tin, I think, or a stainless steel, I'm not sure, but it is some sort of metal. And the one we're looking at today is the DW-5650E in all black version. So dimensions on this one, well, it is 42.5 millimeters in diameter across from the 8 o'clock to the 2 o'clock position if this was an analog. If you look at the traditional 9 to 3 position, it would be 45 millimeters. Lug tip to lug tip is 48.8 millimeters with this integrated sort of band going into the case. If you flip it over, you can see there the lugs are 16 millimeters, so they are quite narrow, but they do flare out quite pronounced to about 21. And then it tapers down here and to the strap, a little bit of a taper on that one. The thickness is 14 millimeters to the edge of the case rather than that recessed LCD crystal. And the weight is just 55 grams for this one. Super, super lightweight. Full specs on it, well, it is an all resin case construction. You can see there it's quite a plasticky look to it. That is that resin case and also a resin band. This is part of the durability of this one. The only parts of this that are not resin are the stainless steel pushers and a stainless steel screwed down case back. You can see there as well, you have a stainless steel buckle and resin keepers for trapping in the strap so that when you put it on it doesn't flap about the place. Also, this is a recessed acrylic crystal with a negative LCD display. When I say a negative display, what I mean is that it's sort of a black with white numbers as opposed to the traditional white with black numbers. And to make that even clearer, I'm going to bring in the opposite of this one. This is a positive display on the AE1200. You can see there white with black numbers, and then the negative is black with white numbers. So it's a bit of a different look. So rather than the description of the watch being printed, it is actually engraved or carved in. Shock resistant around the top there with protection underneath it. You can see there the alarm set button at the top. There's a light button down here underneath. You can see G-Shock and water resistant down there where the 12 o'clock traditional position would be. You have mode down there on the left and adjust up at the top left. If we flip it over, you can see there this is the screwed down case back with the description on it. This screwed down case back gives you 200 meters of water resistance. It has the G-Shock and the shock resist logo on it. The module number 3229. The model itself is the DW-5750E, stainless steel case back, and this one, despite being a Japanese brand, is constructed in China. As we mentioned, the module inside is a Casio Quartz 3229. The features include a day, month, date indicator at the top there. You can also have this one set to 12 or 24 hours. As you can see there, I have this one set to the 24-hour clock, as I do with all my digital watches. I just happen to prefer that sort of military time to it. It has single alarm system on this one. You have a 24-hour counter. Whoops, I just pressed the wrong button there. So you set the alarm. It can either go off by flashing lights, or you can have a beeping, or you can have both. You can see there, if I press it again, there we go, you get the alarm, you get that countdown timer. You can set it to 24 hours and it will count down from 24 hours. You have a stopwatch function or a chronograph. Press it once on the top left to reset, press once on the top right to start it. And if you go all the way around, you have a light as well. So we will get to see the light if you push the bottom right one down here. We get to see it in dark a bit later on. No macro today guys, and no strap show because of the fact that this one doesn't really have a dial as such. It has an LCD screen, so no point really in doing a macro. However, here it is out in natural sunlight on my 7-inch wrist, and you can see there, despite it having a fairly large chunky size to it, it still flows down quite well into my wrist, sits well, doesn't, sit uncomfortably or unnaturally, does sit quite well, which is very, very nice to feel, and it does look really, really well in my humble opinion. And as this is a digital watch, you don't really get a lume shot, but there is a backlight on the back of this one. So you can see there, it's kind of glowing a bluey green colour. It's sort of a mint green, I would describe it. It does make it very, very legible in the darkness, as you can see there. You can see the day, you can see the date, and you can see the time exactly as it should be. So that brings us nicely into the likes and dislikes section of this one. And my first like is this really cool stealth look it has. The fact that it's all blacked out. I've always wanted an all blacked out G-Shock. I think it's something that's really cool. It gives you that stealth look. The fact that the case is black, the strap is black, and the fact that even that LCD crystal is the negative display gives it that really military sort of, you know, urban tactical look to it. Also, it's a great grab and go. It's a quartz watch, and I have had to set this once. I think I've had to set it to just basically change the time exactly when the daylight savings time came in. Other than that, it has ticked away the whole time, sitting in my little box. Whenever I put it on, I haven't even had to change the date, I don't think. The only reason you have to change the date really is, well, if there's a leap year. That's about it, or if the battery goes, of course. Also, it is a durable watch. That's the great thing about this. You can just pick it up, throw it on. Perfect if you're going to the gym, or if you're doing anything where it's going to take a couple of knocks, and if you're doing any bit of manual labour at all. Really, really handy to have, and I have no fear of this one getting battered around or broken. It's worry free, it's hard to damage, and you just throw it on and don't worry about it. And to prove that point, here you go. Toss it up in the air, it lands on the stones there. Are there any marks on it? Of course there aren't. Maybe a little bit of dust on it, you give it a quick wipe, it's all good to go. However, that wasn't a full true test. Let's give it a proper throw into the air. Let's give it a good whack, because I have no fear this one. It really isn't going to break. But just to prove the fact that I would trust this taking any sort of impact, let's give it a fall from about, I'd say it's about 15 feet. Give it a toss into the air, and we'll see what happens with it. So 3, 2, 1, up it goes, down it goes, hard impact into the stones, pick it up, not a scratch on it. Nothing at all, no case damage, no crystal damage. It still looks exactly the same as when it came out of the box. The final like on this one is the fact that it is a great fit, and the strap it comes with is very, very comfortable. It's got a nice fit, it's got a little bit of play in it when I have it on my 7-inch wrist. However, you can see there's about 5 or 6 holes still left on it. So if you've got much smaller wrists, it'll fit, and if you've got much larger wrists, it will still fit. Great if you're working out as well. Your wrist tends to swell and, you know, expand when the blood goes into it, especially if you're lifting weight or anything like that. Downsides on this one, certain angles, it can be very hard to read. That negative display, while it does look cool, is not as good as a positive display to be able to read. You can see there with certain angles, it's very, very hard to make out. So you tilt it a little bit and it's illegible. You can't see anything. The buckle is signed on the inside. I would have preferred it if it was signed on the outside. I think if you're going to bother signing something, why not have it visible? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me have to have a signed buckle on the inside of the buckle and not on the outside. Also, the fact that Casios and G-Shocks tend to have this strange setup for straps, it's going to look stupid if you swap it out without an adapter. You can buy adapters on AliExpress for about 2 or 3 quid, I think. I'll drop a link if I can find one, actually. And the other thing as well is, in low light, this is tough to read, so you are going to use that backlight more, which means you will run down that battery. However, if you want a legible version, you can get a positive display Casio, get a G-Shock if you want, or an AE1200, but if you really love that military tactical look, I think the 5750E is a great way to get it. So guys, there you have it, my review of the Casio or G-Shock DW-5750E. A great no fuss, no frills watch. You just pick it up, throw it on your wrist and go about your business. Whether you're in the gym banging weights or whether you're out in the garden doing a bit of manual labour, maybe you're moving some paving slabs or you're doing some gardening and pulling weeds, you just have it on. It doesn't care whether it gets dirty, whether it gets wet or whether it gets banged around. It'll just take a licking and keep on ticking. And that is true of all G-Shocks in fairness, not specifically just this one, but I think this one just offers you a little bit something more with that negative display and the all black look. Guys, thank you very much for indulging as well my dress up at the start. Honestly, I don't know what I was thinking, the things you do for YouTube and the weird looks you get off your neighbours while you do it. Hopefully you enjoyed the review and the bit at the start. If you did, let me know, give it a like, give it a comment, subscribe if you haven't already, do all the usual YouTube jazz. I have been your host DK. This has been a hell of a lot of fun to review today. This has been the Watchtower Watch Reviews, and I'll see you guys next time.